Ministry of Social Development.
Well done.
Jacinda Ardern.
Mr Chair, sometimes I wonder whether or not Mr Lotuinga and I sit on the same committee and hear the same pieces of information and reports from the community. It's clear to me, Mr Speaker, that a zero budget is what you get when you fail, and in social development we see the repercussions of a failed economic plan, or no plan indeed. And although I absolutely acknowledge the hard work that those who work in the social development field, in particular MSD staff and SIF staff, put into their jobs and their roles, they're doing it under increasing pressure. Now, one of the things we saw from the briefing to the incoming minister from this department was the clear message: something has got to give. The ministry is asking them to do more with less. The demands on them are increasing, not decreasing. Something has got to give. And I asked the minister, what is that thing? What is that thing that's going to give? Because already I'm seeing increasing cases coming across my desk of WIN staff absolutely stretched, treating clients poorly as a result, people finding it very difficult to get the support they need. And while Mr Lotuinga may claim that as a success, there are actually cases, increasing number of cases, of people who are going unsupported and in dire need. But I will return to that. Of course there are major issues in this portfolio. It is one of the most significant that any minister could hold, and not just because of sheer budget, but because of the impact on people's lives. And no more so than the area, for instance, of employment or unemployment, as the case may be. Now, the reason we continually refer back to the measure of those not in employment, education or training is because the unemployment benefit statistics do not pick up young people who are not eligible for benefits. And so that's why we continually come back to the figure of 83,000 young people not in employment, education or training. And what has the minister's response been to deal with those young people? It's to say, let's focus just on the 16 and 17-year-olds. We're going to spend $13 million just targeting 16 and 17-year-olds. What I say to that minister is, you are now saying we will get less and spend the same amount, because currently we spend $13 million and we cater for 16 to 20-year-olds. The government is now cutting out almost 60% of the young people youth transition services deal with in New Zealand, and instead funding them on a bonus payment cycle, essentially incentivising the government, the people tendering, to only work with the easy young people, not the hardest, not the most at risk, but the easy wins. It is a failed policy. We've seen it before in the UK. It failed. Why are we repeating those same mistakes again? I move then more broadly to the government's other response to the current situation. And just to remind Mr Lotuinga, we've seen 67,197 more people on a main benefit now than in 2008. We have seen an increase in main benefit rates. And why is that? Quite simply, it's the economy. Of course the economy has had an impact. I see the minister has acknowledged the economy has had an impact. Why then has the government's reforms focused solely on some kind of idea that there's been this dramatic change in attitude to work? There hasn't been, and yet their reforms are focused on this conception that people don't want to work. They do want to work. That's why we see queues of people lining up for a handful of jobs at supermarkets. They're desperate to be in work. And also, that's why in 2006, 20% of lone sole parents had declared earnings. 20% of DPB parents were in part-time work in 2006. What's the figure now? Well, the minister's put in place part of her future focus reform. She started work testing people earlier. And how many are in part-time work? 16%. It's decreased since she's ramped up her reforms. And why? Because of the economic environment. If you want to fix welfare, fix the economy. She claims that 30,000 people have come off the DPB. Well, 32,000 have gone on. And why? Because these are people working in the low wage, in the service economy, and it's fragile work and it's insecure work. Fix the economy is my message to the government, and then you will genuinely help these people. The biggest issue, though, poverty. 270,000 children living in poverty. 3 out of 5 of them are in the homes of people reliant on government support. 2 out of 5 then are in working poor families. The government's response is to set up a ministerial committee. I see no result from that, and I see no real action from this government.
Jane Logie.